Welcome to Desi Return Diaries, Embracing Home Again, the podcast that shares personal journeys and expert insights on returning to India. I'm your host, Avinash Pedi, here to guide and inspire you on your Desi return journey. Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Desi Return. Today I'm really excited to have Nupur on the call. Nupur lived in US for 13 years before moving to India as a part of retire early with the financial flexibility. And she has been living in India for almost 7 years. And she has worked or helped with NGOs, government agencies, as well as also helping NRIs who are considering to move back to India. I mean, thousands of NRIs who are in this bucket, helping them out. So I'm really looking forward to the show. There are a lot of insights, a lot of value that we can gain from this episode. With this, welcome Nupur to the show.
Thank you for having me, Avinash.
Great. Yeah, Nupur, if you can give us a bit of a background, I think that would be very helpful for our audience.
Absolutely. So, like many Indians, I moved to the United States to do my master's degree in industrial engineering. I went right after college. Once I finished my master's, I got the first job that came into my hand, like many Indians do again, because they were sponsoring my H1. After a couple of job changes, I really knew that I wanted to do something more technical. And I finally got into Google. This was way back in 2007. And so that was the start of another sort of journey, so to speak, because that gave me an opportunity to try out different things, travel a lot. I also moved from Atlanta to California. And in California, I got a chance again to, live the American dream, which, or rather, let's say the Indian American dream, which is run at least one marathon, run plenty of half marathons, travel quite a bit on company money, which Indians love to do. And I also got a chance to represent the Indian community by being by leading the ERG, which is an employee resource group of the Indian Googler network. So as part of that, I used to organize the Google Diwali, which is really huge. Like 4,000 people show up for it every year. So I did a lot of things, and then in 2016, I moved back to India. And that is when I got a chance to really explore. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Um, so I was still I transferred with Google. I got a chance to work with the government for a bit. I also worked on the ground serving villages. A bit later, I wrote. I'm writing my third book now. I have worked with the large companies as well as startups, and I'll tell you a little bit more about those details of how I decided to switch careers from technical into something that is more, let's say, arts driven.
That's great. Yeah. Thanks a lot for that high level overview. So just so that I'm following this, was the move primarily driven because of the opportunity with Google to explore some of the opportunities here in India, or was there intentional? Was there any motivation factor behind the move back to India? If you can, explain it that a little
No,
bit.
oh, absolutely not. And, Avinash, I've been working with NRIs for more than 7 years. And one of my USPs is that I'm brutally honest. And the thing is that though a lot of NRIs say, oh, I'm coming here for, a better job or better opportunity, the truth is there are a lot of cases, most cases, I would say 99% cases where things are not working out in the United States or wherever they're living, and that's why they move back. And there's nothing wrong with something being wrong. I did not absolutely move back because there are opportunities here or any such thing. America was incredibly lonely, and it really got to me. Loneliness is an epidemic amongst not just Americans, but the Indian community that nobody's talking about. And it is sort of swept under the rug. The magnitude and intensity of it is not understood by others. This happens especially to singles, but also to married couples. Like I've had a lot of clients who've spoken about how lonely they feel, although they are married. It's like, oh, it's just the four of us, like me, the husband, and two kids, and there's nobody else. So this loneliness is a factor that really pushed me over the edge. And I thought, I'm living the same life again and again and again and again and again over the same year, and something's got to change. So I was sort of, I would say, pushed into a corner by myself to make a decision. And the only option I felt remaining was to move.
Got it. So it was an intentional decision. And then I think from a career transition wise, you have this opportunity to move as an internal transfer within Google. Is that right?
The latter part is correct, though I won't put it as an intentional decision. It still feels like a khichdi, and that's why people are so confused, because there is no one event or single thing that is pushing people to book that flight ticket.
Yeah.
And because it's a mix of I want to, but I still don't want to, but I have to, and I can, and I want, like, it's a mix of the wants and shoulds and cans. And so it's very, very hard to say that it was intentional, but it's hard to say it was not intentional either. So yes, it's a very nebulous sort of decision to make.
Okay, great. So now that I think you have been living here for 7 years, especially like working in a technology company and moving into arts, I think we can kind of peel it towards that. But how has the life been here? Social life, work life? Just curious if there's anything that you can share on that, like, comparing between US and India in terms of the lifestyle and then the work side. Yeah.
I'll break that down into a few things,
Yeah.
because each of them, there's like a lot of things we could talk about. So the first is social life, and from the viewer's perspective, there's this sense that social life will get better, but we also have to put into consideration that you're aging. And for people who are over 30, 33, 35, most of your people and friends around you are married with kids, and once they have kids, they don't have time to meet you, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just that how life changes. So I did seem to find friends through my work, uh, but they were, let's just say, great work temporary acquaintances. So once I left the company, that sort of withered off. And this is not a reflection of who they are as a person or who I am as a person. It's just a matter of, people are busy and cities are big. And unless even if, like, one of my friends stays literally above me here, I hardly get to meet her. So it's not like social life is booming, but your office is going to be your gateway to making a social life. I couldn't make friends at Google, actually. It was funny because the Google Bangalore office, people would just leave by 4:30. And the younger ones, those were the married folks, and the younger ones were, um, they had their own group. So they were nice to me, but they won't make friends with me. And I don't think I so don't see myself hanging around with a 22-year, although I don't mind it. But yeah, it is hard. You have to go to classes or places, or to and actively make a an effort to meet people.
Mhm.
Work-wise, it has been very, very hard for me. I do understand that people are built out of different things. People have different personalities, and their adaptability is changes based on who they are as people. For me, I'm very sensitive and observational. That's why I'm an author. It really helps for me to write. But when it comes to actually being somebody who can take things at work, like take bullets at work or whatever, however you want to put it, it's been incredibly hard for me. And it's not just bullets, it's not like somebody's targeting me, it's just the ability to accept that different people work in different ways, talk in different ways, that has been hard. And
Yeah.
I'll tell you where this is coming from. California, especially Google, California, Silicon Valley has become a bubble where they now teach you that everyone else had better behave the way you want them to behave. So all these gender pronouns and all, what is it? It is like others have to respect what I want to hear, and you have to talk how I want to hear it. India is the flip. People will say any shit they want to you. They'll say whatever they want. You have to manage your own brain. And I think this is a much better long-term philosophy, because you start looking inside yourself and you're like, okay, why am I being so sensitive? Why is my happiness in somebody else's hand? And it really helped me grow as a person. So although working was difficult, it changed me for the better. I um I have found my sort of, as I say, happy place.
Yeah.
I have found workarounds, typical things where I've changed, I've changed, since I'm senior by age, or maybe not by title, somewhat by title, people are generally nice to me, but I think it gets really rough when you're in your 20s. So work and social life are these two things. There's a host of a lot of other things I can talk about, but I'll let you prioritize what you think your viewers want to hear.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, again, I think for someone who is thinking about moving back, right? I mean, especially for somebody who lived for 13 years and who have been living in India for 7 years, there might be certain thoughts or expectations or misconceptions that people might have. I mean, if there are any key areas that you wanted to touch base, I think the typical things are the work lifestyle, the social lifestyle, for the family, whatever the other reasons could be, right? If there are any key points from your perspective, maybe those are typical misconceptions that you might have seen people think about India when they're considering to move back. I think that definitely would be very helpful.
Yes, while living abroad, your lens of India is through Twitter and through news channels and through NDTV and through New York Times, which loves to hate India. So there's a sense of, so Twitter is a very angry place, right? So there's a sense of, oh my God, India is shocking. There's like discrimination and people are like this and that. And NRIs come with a sense of righteousness that, hey, I know the right way of doing things, and I'm so kind and I will teach you how to do things. And वहाँ पे वो मार खा जाते हैं. Like this is where you come and people are nice here, right? Like I've seen a lot of NRIs behave like they're superior. And hey, you know what? In some senses, I was like that too. And it's not like I was actively behaving superior. It's just a thing that, hey, I know so much. I know so many wonderful ways of doing things in a much faster way. Let me teach you. And it's like, all this, what you're coming as an NRI with may not necessarily fit into what is needed in India. And I'll give you an example. So many, every single time I write about my maid online, I have a lot of followers on LinkedIn. Someone corrects me and saying it's not maid, it's house help. Okay, and I can understand because I was that person when I was sitting in California. California is incredibly left-leaning, right? So it's like, no, 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 you better call her house help. But here's the thing: after being in India and like sort of I'll use the word dealing with housemaids or house helps or whatever you want to call them, they own you. And it's not like they're becharis, and it's not like you're exploiting them. You are giving them a means of employment that is respectful. You're allowing them into your home, you're being nice to them, you're laughing and joking, they're a part of your family. And they don't care if you call them maid or house help. They care about the money. They care about the respect. So as an NRI, when you're coming to India, you're like, oh, I'm going to do things American way. I'm going to pay my maid more. I'm going to pay per hour more. I'm going to give extra money. In the long term, you'll find that doesn't really work. You have to sort of adjust to become so quote unquote Indian. And even if that sounds horrifying right now, you will surprise yourself. So what this means is that when an NRI moves into India, they have to be really open to the Indian ways of doing things and study and understand it instead of coming with a sort of righteousness and that anger that no,
Yeah.
I know the right way to do it, and it is house help and not maid.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's one thing. And the second part is, the recreation of the US or foreign life in India. Um, Everyone wants it. I wanted it. But basically I would say it's an iterative process. And it's also, there's this sine wave or curve that dampens, we used to do that in
Yeah.
physics. So that's going to dampen over time, and you're slowly going to start integrating what is really working for you to live in India. And it's not scary. Like, people come with this so much fear, there's so much like anxiety that what if it doesn't work out? No, no, it's not like it doesn't work out. You have to make it work out.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, I think these are the two things that NRIs need to watch out for.
No, I mean, those are two big things, right? I think, you can't change the culture. I mean, I think if you made a decision to be part of it, I think you need to adapt or, embrace it. I mean, I think the end of the day and live with it. So maybe switching gears a little bit. I know there are, few important topics that I would love to, get your insights. The first one, I think you said kind of moving from a technology to an art. So that's a big transition. So what made you to transition into that, like, writing books or, working with the NGOs? Anything that you can share on that, that would be helpful. Yeah.
So this is very helpful for people who are yearning for doing something else, and they're confused about uh, what they're getting out of life while doing their jobs. And this, I think, is a very large population of Indians feel this way, because almost all of us are boxed into engineering, or I'm guessing most of the viewers are engineering. It's like you either become engineer or doctor or nothing else. Now, I would say that there is some higher power involved, because there was a time when I was in California. I suddenly stopped being interested in tech. I was like, I was a spreadsheet girl, and I was like, you know what, this is a solved problem. Give me something else. And I slowly found that I was starting to explore my creative side. So I started doing food photography. This is many years ago. It's 13,
Yeah.
14 years ago from today. I started doing food photography. That led to me writing blog posts. And those blog posts started becoming funny. My friends would read them and they would laugh and they would ask for more. So slowly, slowly, I kept writing. Then it became a thing for me to keep writing. And I literally had people, one guy in Google, he wandered about finding my desk in office and found me and came to me and said, Nupur, you need to write a book. I'm like, wow, okay. So I continued. And by then I was a technical program manager in network operations. And when I moved to India, I saw the floodgates open, that I can try anything. Oh my God, I have no visa restrictions. I have so much help here. So I decided to do product or food photography. After doing 3 or 4 paid clients, actually one paid client and two clients that I was trying to convince, I realized India is a very cost sensitive market, and the amount of effort I put into food photography and the perfectionism is not appreciated. It's like, whatever. So I very quickly figured that from all the 100 things that I wanted to do, I started to eliminate things. And in this India really helped me. Why? Because I was able to leave my job, sit at home and explore. And when you're just exploring a certain thing, then you start thinking in a very different way. You start thinking about the business angle, the money angle. So I eliminated food photography, so many other things. And then I got an opportunity to write my first book. Then I was still doing things on the ground. I worked for a small startup. Then I wrote my second book. Then COVID hit. I decided, like, let's get a full-time job. And I worked for that company for 2.5 years. And then I was like, oh, let's retire so that I can write books full time. And by this time, this is starting my third book, right? By this time, I'm like, yeah, I want to be an author. I've explored enough. I know I want to switch careers and I'm ready for it. Let's do it. Let's sit at home and write a book. And you know what, Avinash? I quit my job on Friday.
Yeah.
It was, I think, 5th August. Monday, 8th August, the plan was go to co-working spaces in Bangalore and make friends there and write my book. 8th evening, I was bawling. I was crying so much, so much. And next day also I was crying. Third day, I like, this is not panning out the way I thought. I thought I'll go to co-working spaces and make friends. And I slowly realized this idea of retiring and just sitting at home and doing what I love is feels so different from what it sounds like on paper. And what this means for the audience is, when you're thinking of retiring and you're like, oh, I'm going to do pottery making, I would suggest do try it out, but be open to coming back to the workforce. So since then, I've decided that it's best for me as a person, and I'm not saying this is a cookie cutter for everybody or formula for everyone. As a person, I'm an extrovert. I need people around me, and so for me, having a full-time job is much keeps me happy. Let's put it that way. So this has been a transition, and it was not without. It was not linear, right? Like, I'm saying it in a way that is it's smooth, but it was never a confusion of if I should do this or not.
Yeah.
It was never there. And for readers who are like, I know I want to do whatever, pottery making or photography, that it comes from your gut, and it's so solid, you want to do it. The only thing is, um, the I really needed some mentorship on figuring out how to manage my thinking around this, thinking around money, thinking around handling people, finding the job that really makes me feel comfortable so that I can pursue all of this. So there's a lot of not planning, but a lot of ups and downs, and a lot of kitch that goes on before you actually settle into something that works for you.
Yeah, great. I think you kind of touched about this. I think how quickly it changed. But curious, I mean, again, if you are comfortable, only like please share. So when you made the decision about retiring early, like following your heart and not working for money, just working what you really believe in. Like, was there any from a financial perspective, anything that you can share? Like, is there something that you looked into? Yes, this makes sense, and so ready for leaving a full-time job and just going with retiring early. Like, is there anything on from that perspective that, if you're comfortable, would love to get some insights there, because that's something that always a question from some of the listeners, and the perspective that they would always be interested in.
So 1,000% of my male clients ask this question, and 0% of my female clients. I have had 0 female clients come and say, "Hey, I want to check my investment portfolio. How much money do I need to retire?" Zero, 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 zero. And I've had more than thousand, like 1,000 people in person, and off on email, like even more than that. So it sounds like a very guy thing, and it's not wrong. I'm just saying it's very different, and especially a married man with kids is something who will be interested in what should my portfolio look like. I didn't look at it because these decisions are so overwhelming, and you can't stand being in that position anymore. That it's like, even if you have nothing in your bank, I'm still taking the plunge.
Yeah, it just
Because
I
I know
mean,
I'll figure it out. And this is what I wanted. I'm so glad you brought that up, because I want to give a very different answer to this, especially to Indians who are saving and saving and saving to do what? What? Like, sit on your rocking chair when you're old and then look at your bank? Spend it now. Like, NRIs are so incredibly conjuice, it's not even funny. And I'm seeing that day in and day out. I'm seeing the decisions that NRIs are making based on like a $5 coffee to saving for living in some apartment. Like, why? Just spend the money on yourself and live your life, because you are going to die with money in your bank. So I would say, like, do look at your investment portfolio, but that's the beauty of India, is that you can survive without money. Yeah.
yeah. That reminds me a book. I think it's called Zero Die with Zero. So I think the idea behind it is not to leave the money in the bank, right? Even if it's inheritance. I mean, you already made a decision to decide on it, but it's enjoy the life. I think, instead of like sitting on the money. But anyway, that just
Yeah,
of that.
absolutely. And see, the perception of your friends around you. I'll give you one example. I have a friend who's incredibly rich. He is doing really, really well. Like, I'm not even going, like, maybe say Amazon, may he's a big shot or something like that. And I was talking to another person in India, actually, a client of mine, and he was like, I know this guy. I was like, oh, this is a friend of mine. And you know what is the only thing he said about him? Not that he had achieved so much. He said, ah, wo mahakanjus hai. Literally, whoever's listening to this, if you are being stingy with money even once, that's all people are going to remember. So I would say, please live your American or wherever foreign life with a little bit of flow from your wallet. Okay, let your wallet money flow. Spend on yourself, spend on clothes, spend on grooming. I'm actually going to bring this. I've already brought this Kanju's topic up in my book back home, and I'm writing my third book, right? That's for single NRI. So I have a little bit of that in it as well.
Great. So, yeah, thanks. I mean, so let's talk a little bit about your books. Like, what's the, the three books that you mentioned? Like, what's the main theme? If you can share a little bit of information, I think that would be helpful. Yeah.
Sure. My first book was exploratory for me. I made it fictional because I didn't have the guts to write it in person. It was about my experience in the semi-government, not government. Government was actually great to work with,
Hmm.
surprisingly,
Okay.
because there's a lot of clean hierarchy. It's like you have to listen to this person, and you work with IS folks, right? They're very, 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 very smart. So you're working with incredibly intelligent people. But in the semi-government, I had some interesting experiences which I've fictionalized and put in my first book. It's not my intention to market that book. It's just something I did for myself.
Yeah.
The second book back home is for NRIs who are confused about moving to India. It's non-fiction. I write non-fiction better than fiction. It's a guide and it's a fast read. So people have, it's got great reviews on Amazon. People love it. It's funny, it's fast, it's interesting. So I would highly recommend people to read it, even if you're not looking to move, not even confused. It'll help you understand, those little nuances in India that I had to adjust to. For example, I've spoken about how people don't keep the door open here in India. Uh, and how like many times it's slammed in my face and I've got so angry. I mean, not at them, but in my
Yeah.
head, I'm like, yeah, what is this? Why did I come back to India and all of that? But yeah, you get used to it. Now, this third book, I'm going to call it Alone Abroad, and it is for single NRIs and all the frustrations and the difficulties that they are facing as single people, and the pressure of marriage, the societal pressure of getting married and dating for especially for NRIs is very nuanced. I'm not saying that Indians in India don't face this, but it is specifically harder for Indians abroad. I'm speaking about loneliness and how to deal with friends and jealousy and the time pressure of getting married. Like in Indian culture, once you're 30, and you're not married, you might as well go die somewhere. Like people are just like you're off the planet. You don't exist anymore. So these type of things I want to address because I really feel like these topics are not spoken about in the Indian community, especially the NRI community. And I even explore like will moving to India really help solve this problem, because I have plenty of clients in their mid-30s living abroad who are like, I am so fed up of dating here, of being single here. I think I want to move to India. I'll be able to meet more women there or meet more men. And so I want to discuss that topic a little bit. Yeah.
No, yeah, thanks for sharing the information. So we will leave the links to these books so that people can check it out, and definitely very relevant to the audience here. With that said, I know you have helped and you also currently help a lot of NRIs who are considering to move back. Maybe you can talk a little bit about that services, like, what you do or what you offer and how it works so that people have an understanding on that.
Absolutely. So when I started out, I was always writing about my experiences, and I found that it resonated very well with Indians abroad. And I felt like getting some. I realized that getting some structure around this is very helpful. So for me, as of now, I have my book that people can read and help them get a better sense of what this move is about. I offer consulting sessions, so somebody can book one-on-one with me, with themselves, or for the married folks with their spouse. And in one session, I kind of give high-level pointers on what to expect, what not to expect, and what kind of help them piece through their decisions and make a better decision, or eliminate certain types of decisions. And also, since I have worked with so many people, I also have aggregated information about what works and what doesn't work based on that particular person's questions and the situation that they are in. So that has been incredibly helpful for people. And again, my approach is brutal honesty. And Avinash, I don't sell India to people. So I do know there are other people who also help NRIs, and they come from the lens of the reverse brain drain. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but my philosophy is that you do what is best for you in this phase of your life. And I help a range of people. I've helped students, and people in their singles in their mid-20s. I help them also around lifestyle design, how to live a better life while abroad. Many clients are, the couple with 2 kids, or the fighting couple. The most interesting in a sort of sad way, where one couple wants to move to India and the other one doesn't. So I've helped sort of quote unquote convince the other side, or at least help one person see the other person's point of view. And I've even seen people, whose kids have gone to college, and they are like, what, I want to, say, go back to Baroda and retire in my hometown. So what do I do? So I've seen a whole range of people of different circumstances and situations.
Okay, yeah, great. I mean, I'm sure, I think it's always good to have that sounding board and somebody who has seen these different scenarios and provide a feedback and guiding in terms of the journey so that they can make the right decision. So is there any topic that we haven't covered that you'd like to, bring up and make sure that the audience are aware of it?
There are many things that we could talk about, but I really feel that, just understanding that your life is going to change by a magnitude is important to know, and to be ready that things are really going to change exponentially when you make this move. One example that I do give is fitness, because I was crazy about fitness in the US. And you know how California is like, you can do so much. Everybody's into fitness. They're like, everyone's running a marathon or something like that. And after being that, girl who goes to the gym 9 days a week, seriously, 9 days a week, here I'm going 0 days a week, and I've tried so many ways, different gyms and ways of staying fit, and that really I have not been able to get back into those fitness levels as abroad. And it's something that I've learned to accept, but it's really, it's hard to to digest that some things may just not be the same. And for me, I've found a work around that. So for example, fitness related, right? Like the gyms here, especially for women, your experience of India as a man versus a woman is going to be different. As a woman, what I found when I go to many gyms, the trainers come and give gyan. India mein na, people love to give gyan. So you have to navigate, and I've been very nice, but they come and they start showing you some, and I've done weight training for 8 years, right? So it's almost like I know even more than the trainer. But they look at you and they judge by your looks to see whether you know or not. And it gets very annoying. So one of my local friend taught me that when you go to the gym, you have to act like you know everything, and you have to show off a lot. You have to be like, I have learned in US and I've done this and done that, and that way they'll stay away from you. I can't do that. Like I can't, that's not me as a person, but you see how hard it's been to sort of navigate. And I've actually left gyms because the trainer wouldn't leave me alone. They would just keep going in between. It was just super annoying. So for me, I've yet to find that gym where I'm feeling comfortable and it's close enough. It took me 6 years to find a good apartment. Housing in India is non-standard, and it's It's not up to the mark. There's so many things that you could just sit and complain about, but I would certainly say that mental health is the topmost winner here. Just having people around, the support, like even right now as I'm speaking, it's 8 9 a.m. in the morning. My maid is here, so first I get to see people. Like there's the watchman downstairs. They talk to me. I think that the people in India are just so warm and friendly, and that just makes up for all of this. Like, I understand, I just spoke about a trainer giving gyan, but he's also coming from a place of friendliness. So if you want to talk to someone, this trainer will happily give you gyan. It's just that I don't want it in that particular situation. But yeah, it's you come here for the people to in India, and of course the land is beautiful. Like at the end of the day, whatever faults India has, it's still our home.
Yeah, for
You know,
sure. Yeah. No,
so
thanks for that. I know, I think the last one is there any advice that you would suggest or give for people who are considering about? I mean, again, as you said, it's not for India or not, but it's an important for them to kind of make a decision in one way or the other. When I say decision, again, it's not an easy decision. There's a lot of convolution and all this stuff. But from your perspective, any advice or any suggestion for future aspirants that who are considering to move?
yeah, the first thing is throw that spreadsheet out. Especially goes for guys who are like huddled over spreadsheet and be like, how is this going to work? Throw that spreadsheet out, because at the end of this is going to be a gut decision. It's going to be an emotional sort of decision. Ask yourself, when I'm 90 years old and I look back, what is the one thing I'm going to regret not doing? And if that answer is not moving to India, then make that move. But if that doesn't bubble up as your answer, then maybe you have to think a little more. And the second thing is, please spend the money. Please ask $100,000 questions. Ask 50,000 feet view questions, and not questions like questions that you can Google, like, can I get my cat to India? Or I call these the Samsung TV questions, where people are like, oh, can I ship my Samsung TV? Like, who cares, Like, buy a new one here. It's just like, it's just a lakh or so. Like, ask yourself bigger questions, lead a better life, and spend money, and just rise above all of this. I think the Indian community has to uplift itself by asking $100,000 questions, and not $5 questions or $500 questions. And ask yourself what that means. Ask yourself, what are the questions I'm looking at today that are $5 questions, $500 questions?
Yeah.
I can't give an example. You know what it
What's the
like.
point?
A Samsung TV is a $500 question. So I feel like I implore the Indian community to uplift itself, to look at things from a bigger picture, not be penny wise and pound foolish, and enjoy life. Like, literally, life is meant to be lived. It's not meant to be, yeah, sure, do your spreadsheet, but then don't live by it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. I think it's definitely a personality, right? I mean, some people are very analytical, but it's also important to take the gut feel and something that you don't want to regret. I think that's the key thing. You just have to, go with that and make sure you make a decision, whatever it is. I think so that you don't regret in the life later. Uh, so thank you very much, for all your time and insights from your journey and speaking to a lot of NRIs who are considering to move. And by the way, audience, I think Nupur and I have been talking about probably like having a webinar in the near future, so where she can distill some of the information that she has, summarized, talking to so many different NRIs, so that people are aware of the different things to consider before the move, or the things that they can decide before the move. So more info to come, but just want to give a sneak peek or give a heads up on that. With that, thank you very much for your time, and really appreciate you taking an opportunity and speaking to our audience here.
Thank you so much, Avinash.
Great. Thank you all for joining us on this insightful journey of Desi Return. If you enjoyed this episode and want to explore more stories and expert advice, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell. Don't forget to leave a comment below with your thoughts and experiences. By the way, check out the links in the description below for our Facebook group and social media for updates and engaging discussions, as well as connecting with fellow Desi Returners. Thank you once again, and until next time, may your Desi Return journey be filled with joy, growth, and endless possibilities.